We say it time and time again that for the wheels of the economy to keep on turning, infrastructure is critically important. And one person who knows that all too well is Progress Hlahla, who's the manager for the Northern Region at SANRAL. And he tells us just how busy that region is. Progress Hlahla, Regional Manager for Northern Region at SANRAL.
Yes.
Thanks for joining us.
No, thank you. Thank you for having this interview with me.
So Northern Region is right in the middle, I would guess, of the busiest part of the economy, which means you must be really busy.
It's very busy. Remember, we manage Northwest, Gauteng, Mpumalanga, and Limpopo. And all these provinces border countries. So there's a lot of trade coming into Gauteng, for example, going to Richards Bay, and it moves on our roads. So we tend to be one of the busiest regions in SANRAL. And we manage almost half of the entire national network. So it gives you an idea of the volume of work and the dedication required from a lot of people we have in the region.
So give us a sense of status. Where are we? How many projects are on the go? What's the lie of the land?
So when we did a check the last time, we had around 500 projects. Most of them are on non-toll roads, although maybe about 100 or so are on tolled roads, or roads that where you need to pay a toll to pass. And these projects are in various design stages, or at various stages. Some are in planning, some are in design, some are in construction. And from a region's perspective, we've tried to make sure we distribute them evenly among our projects. We are aware that Gauteng maybe lacks a little bit, but remember there's still the GFIP issue that we are resolving in terms of the tolling. But apart from that, the distribution of the work among the provinces is quite even, and there are a lot of projects that are active now.
So I have grey hair and you don't, which means that I remember a lot of things that you were still a child.
Yeah.
It used to take me about 10 minutes to drive from Ponty City to Sandton back in the 90s. That has changed a lot,
Yes.
and partly because the economy has been pumping and moving at a pace. Have you been able to keep up with the demand? Because that must be one of your biggest challenges.
So that is actually key. If you look at the network, especially in Gauteng, a lot of it is at capacity now. What it means is the entire freeway system during peak periods starts to behave like a parking lot. A lot of slow-moving vehicles indicating that we now need to build the other network that is around Gauteng. This was what the GFIP phases 2 and phases 3 were supposed to account for. And we are still hopeful that somehow these phases will be implemented. If we do not implement this network, the congestions will just keep on getting worse. The level of service or the delays travelers experience on the roads will actually get worse. And but already we have solutions around this. We already thought a lot about what needs to be done. Now it's just a matter of our will and our ability to fund this infrastructure. A lot of this network was designed to be tolled. And if we are not going to be able to toll them, then we really need to find alternative sources of funding. And that's the key discussion we need to have as a country. Do we say user pay principle, or do we go for some other hybrid that works? At the end of the day, all South Africans want a network that works. No one wants to sit in long queues in traffic. So whatever solution we agree to, it must work for everyone.
So what keeps you up at night? What's your biggest challenge that you're constantly trying to solve?
So obviously, the funding for roads
Yes.
it's a major issue, because we have quite a number of planned future roads. We have a 2030 roads plan that we have that identifies the existing and future network we require. And we need to fund this. But beyond this, I have quite a number of active sites. And you are all aware, every now and then there's the construction mafia, there's the invasion of sites and so on that we experience. So security among sites or on all our sites is the major concern. But however, there's been some positives. We are able, with a lot of the work we do, to create jobs for a lot of untrained people whom we say unskilled, that we bring in, we train, we empower, and they end up earning a salary on our projects. We are also doing a massive training of SMMEs. So we train thousands of small, medium, and micro enterprises on our network. And a lot of them end up working. We have actually developed a new type of project we call community development projects, which are geared purely on training. We bring in an SME at CIDB grades 1 or 2, we train them, we give them work, and by the time they leave, they're like CIDBs 3 and 4. And we think in some way we're making a material difference to some of the challenges we're faced with as a country.
I know that you've done great things in the past, and I want us to look a little bit about what the future is going to look like. I remember 2010 rugby at the Football World Cup. My producer and I, we got in a car and we wanted to do the small stories. So we drove 6,000 kilometers around the country. And I was amazed at the network that you guys built. But what was interesting was once you get off the highway, it was a different story. Is that the next phase of your dream? You've built this skeleton, I guess.
Yeah.
But now, when I get off the highway, what next?
That is another major thing that keeps us up at night. Was when you think about it, in some provinces, the network is well maintained. And in some municipalities, it is well maintained. In others, there's quite a serious concern. So you would be aware at the end of July, the Minister of Transport launched Operation Valazonge, where we have had what we call a war room, where we aggregate all information that's happening on the entire network, not only the SANRAL network, but the provincial and the local. The idea is through an app that we developed, a SANRAL app, that if you were driving on the network and you see something amiss, a pothole, for example, you can take a picture of it, route it through the app, and immediately in the back end, people are able to pick which road it is, who is responsible for that road, and issue out a job instruction for the road to be maintained. And when it's maintained, they're able to then close out this query and create a picture to show that actually the work was actually done. And the picture is dated with GPS coordinates to make sure that they don't take any other picture to say the work is done. So that's what we are doing with partnership with provinces. But in addition to this, provinces are looking at transferring vast amounts of network to SANRAL. So in Mpumalanga, for example, they had identified 1,300 kilometers they wanted to give to the Northern Region. And in other provinces, I think in Limpopo, another 1,600, and in the Northwest as well. So this additional network coming to SANRAL will be maintained at national standards. So you will start to see a lot of the network meeting the expectations of the drivers in terms of the work we will do. And again, obviously, with this additional network, the funding issue comes again. But we are quite confident with Treasury and the discussions we have that we should, at least for the foreseeable future, be able to implement this infrastructure.
You talked about the country borders in your region in particular. What does that mean in terms of the infrastructure that you need to build? Because you're seeing more and more volumes, I'm guessing, coming through.
That is quite correct. So there was the Kasungula Bridge that was done a bit north of Botswana and Zambia. And that created a freight corridor. Some people are going to Namibia, some people are coming into South Africa, going to Richards Bay. If they come through South Africa, they could use the N11 or the N1, for example. And these key corridors have become key freight corridors. We all know the challenges with rail that are being addressed at the moment, but in the meantime, a lot of the freight traffic is on our national roads. So we have identified several key corridors in the country, and especially in the Northern Region, where we are going to be spending serious amounts of money. For example, the N2 between Emelo and the KZN border, we will be spending around 9.5 billion rands of money upgrading that entire road. There is another road, there's between the N1, between Kransco Plaza, where it comes together, going into Polokwane, into Makado, or Louis Tricard as it was normally called, going beyond that to Baobab towards Musina. We will be upgrading the entire stretch. It will cost us another 12 or so billion rand that we will be putting in there. We have also the N11 corridor coming from the border with Botswana, through Limpopo, into Mpumalanga, into Emelo, which then joins the N2. Again, we have several billions of rands earmarked. And obviously, there's the famous Moloto Road that connects Gauteng to Mpumalanga and Limpopo. And that, again, is around another 10 billion rands of taxpayers' money we are spending. So we have key corridors, either for commuters or for freight, where we really want to spend a lot of money on. And we think this investment will speak for itself. For example, I will challenge some of the viewers to this channel to say, go to Google Earth, look at the N1, look at what it was before the World Cup, look at the spatial development there, what it looked like. Look at what happened once we upgraded the N1. Look at the developments that we attracted, the economic benefits that came to the country after we did that. And you will see everywhere where we develop these corridors, there's a lot of investment that comes. In Muloto, we had actually hardly started construction when malls started setting up. So we see this everywhere, and we think, while we focus on investing on roads, we think the multiplier effect on the economy are actually very positive. So we're looking forward to a very positive next 10 years, and we're quite excited about it.
And we've been very excited to hear about this. Thank you so much indeed for joining us, Progress. Thanks for your time.
No, thank you, Peter. Enjoy the interview.
That was a fascinating conversation with Progress Hlahla, giving us an indicator of just how busy the Northern region is and how much it contributes in building our economy. We'll see you again next time on SANRAL TV.